Alright, new spicy decks of the week. We're going to be working to get these out every Monday, every week. I know I have not been posting consistently on the channel, but we're going to work to change that starting today. So we're going to lead this week off with a constellar deck from Rika that hit spicy win streak. It was a Zexo weapon deck using the new skill that we got. So if you don't know what it does, once your life points get under 2,000, you can basically for your draw phase draw any Zexo weapon monster instead, and then special summon it to the board on your turn. So a lot of rank 4 decks have been taking advantage of that, things like Satellar Knights, winning a tournament using that, and other decks as well. So we're using that strategy here with Constellars. And we also have things like Cosmic Cyclone and Herald of the Abyss to try to help get us under that 2,000 life point value to be able to trigger the skill. Beyond that, we're using the normal sort of Constellar tricks, the level 4s that let you normal summon or special summon an additional Constellar from your hand, going into rank 4s with those. Some back row cards to support with Venus Chain and Treacherous. Nothing too special with it, but just really interesting taking advantage of the new ZW skill, and nice to see how many decks can actually utilize it. Next we have a Darklord deck. This is another spicy win streak deck. This is actually one that I've been using. We'll have a video coming out probably tomorrow featuring gameplay of almost this exact same list. But yeah, it's kind of similar to what you expect in the TCG from it. You're just going to draw a ton, basically half your deck every turn, or you're going to try to OTK your opponent on turn 2. Turn 1 isn't so strong with this deck. Usually it's just like setting a Dark Smog with a Graph in hand, like to destroy a card and maybe banish from your opponent's graveyard, but going second, this deck is actually pretty strong though, because you can usually draw through half your deck, get multiple Graphas, blow up your opponent's board, and try to swing for game. So, but it doesn't have much longevity. Beyond turn 2, this deck starts to fall apart. But yeah, just a ton of draw cards. Everything that gets discarded gets an effect, and it's extremely fun to play. Like I said, we'll have a video coming out probably tomorrow on this exact deck because it is extremely fun to play. But it's also the most expensive deck in the game too. You need like ultra rares out of 4 different boxes. It's insanely expensive. So. Alright, now I know a lot of people are going to be very scared to see this here, but yes, this was a second place deck list from a Dark World Legacy tournament, and it is Darklords. Yes, even after the ban list, after yugioh has been hit to 2 and cut from the list, or I say cut from the list, so they had other cards hit to 2. They're still having some success. It's not like it was before. This isn't like gonna be like a terrible new meta deck that's gonna destroy everything, but it's at least good to know that or terrible to know that Darklords are still at least somewhat competent. If you hate the deck, be aware of that. If you like the deck and you want to continue to play with it, you went and dug for all the cards and now it got hit. This might be a way to go about it. Bulb here to go for a bunch of different synchro plays with the deck is a new thing we're using here. As well as going with like the Morning Star and the Amdusk. So a different approach has to be taken. Obviously no stick and chair, no yugioh, but yeah, Darklords are still getting it done. Alright, next we have a King of Games deck. This is an elemental hero build. So a couple different things to talk about here. First off, I want to talk about the skill, Wounded Hero. So this has some similarities to what people are doing with Destiny Draw. Basically, when you've taken life point damage, you can special summon from your deck on your turn any E-hero from your deck with attack points equal to or less of the amount of damage you've taken this duel. So if you've taken, let's say, 1800, you can on your turn, once per duel, just special summon a Stratos from your deck and trigger its effect. And it's based on how much damage you've taken, not how much you're at, so you can use Battling Boxer Veil, like I said, similar to Destiny Draw, in order to help proc that skill in order to trigger it. So it's a nice way to get a free card out of the deck. And beyond that, it's just kind of like your standard E-hero stuff, like you summon Stratos, search for another level 4, Bubble Man can special summon itself, Soldier can get another 4 on the board, Lightning Vortex and Treacherous to help blow up your opponent's field. But yeah, an interesting idea though to kind of use like the same things that people are doing with Destiny Draw, but with a Wounded Hero instead. Pretty standard extra deck beyond that. Notice we have the Heroic Champion Excalibur, the new card to help these decks kind of OTK or just swing over those big 3000 Blue Eyes monsters. Alright, next we have another deck that's been nerfed into the ground, Esaber. You know, this deck's Elemental Saber, even after everything, still have some good stall tactics that they can do. They just don't really have much of a win condition now. The Invoked Engine was kind of their win condition, and beyond that, it's been really difficult to find a replacement for something that can close out games. So here's another shot at doing it. This deck hit King of Games, and we have Chaos Dragon Levianeer in here. It's easy to get Light and Darks in the graveyard because all your Esabers can obviously change their attributes to whatever you need. So that's like, I guess you can say, is another kind of win condition. You sort of grind your opponent down on card advantage with your back row and your Esabers, and then come in with Levy near to try to close that out, clear out all their big stuff, and push through for game. We're also running the Elemental Grace Doriado, and basically you need like one of each attribute in a graveyard, and then you can give her a big ol' attack boost and basically lock your opponent out of summoning monsters. Just an alternate way to try to win with this deck, because again, Elemental Saber needs a way to try to win the game. You can sit back and sort of guard with Malehu and win some games with that, but they need something else. They need something like that Invoked Engine to help close out games, and if I don't think it's going to be any kind of meta breaking deck, but if you have Esabers and you like the deck, you want to play with it, you got those cards, this might be one way to go about playing with it, to take advantage of them. Alright, so we got a couple beast decks to talk about this week. The first one here is a fabled centric deck. You're gonna be seeing the fabled Unicorn in here. Now, Unicorn basically can negate all your opponent's effects as long as you have the same number of cards in hand as them. So you basically just use Obedient School as a 1-card synchro play to get it out there, and then use your trap cards, which lets you discard from your hand, to try to keep up with the amount of cards your opponent has in hand, so that you can try to maintain the same number of cards as they do. And it's a little bit tricky because you really have to think about what cards you're activating in a chain to make sure that your effects are gonna, your Unicorn is gonna negate all their monster effects or all their effects in general. So you really need to be careful and focus on what you're activating, and it's a pretty tricky deck to play, but it can be really devastating if you can just shut down all of your opponent's effects and not let them play the game. This deck can be really frustrating to play against. And I'm suspecting we're going to see a lot more of these kind of beast decks coming forward, not just with Unicorn, but in general, because Obedient School is a really strong card, and we have a lot of really good level 2 beasts now. Alright, Fire Fist, and this is a top 8 mana frequently deck. We got quite a few Fire Fist decks that saw success this past week. It's not the best deck of the format, but it's a very competent deck. It can do some pretty nutty things, basically negating your opponent's effects. You can get the so many things in this deck search for other things, and allow you to very consistently get your combos out. But you can basically get your fusion monster out. It can negate monster effects. You get your trap cards out, which can negate spells and traps. And you basically just go for can go for a lot of like 1-card plays, like synchro plays with the level 3 tuner. There's just a number of things. Like I said, you search out a lot of stuff with this deck to be able to consistently get the stuff. And I'm gonna be doing a full video on this deck and another one later on this week, and to spend some time really learning this deck and figuring out all the combos and bringing a video out on it later this week, because this deck is a very a lot of really nuts combos you can do with this deck, and it's pretty strong. And so I'm actually excited to play with it and see it have some success at least. Alright, next we have a heroic OTK deck. This is very similar to the one that I actually did a video on this past week. Taking advantage of the new heroic Excalibur card. Basically, like I said earlier, goes up to 4,000 attack points, any 2 warriors, so it's super easy to make. And you're just going to cheese OTKs out of your opponent here. You have Hatred to bounce all their back row back to hand. And if you get your Excalibur monster out, you can activate Shooting Star Seal to basically let it attack directly for 4,000, finish off your opponent. Or you can activate Heroic Charge and put it up to 8,000 attack points and swing over a Blue Eyes monster or something like that, or whatever monster you have on the board, just deal a ton of damage and end up winning the game that way. So you're just going to be doing gigantic OTKs. You can very consistently get to everything with the Battling Boxer Veil and Destiny Draw helping out. And again, any 2 of these monsters in your deck will make your Heroic Excalibur, so it's super easy to get it on the board, very easy to get Hatred to your hand, and get one of these OTK cards to back it up. It's pretty nuts. It's not, like, again, like a meta-breaking deck, but man, this deck is extremely fun to play with. I'll link the video in the description of that deck list and some of the playthrough of it. This deck list is more optimized than the one that I had, but... Alright, moving on, we have a Gadget deck here. So this is a King of Game deck. Utilizing some of the gold gadgets, silver gadgets, not too many new things here. Just taking advantage of just the powerful rank 4 engine that we have and all the +1s that you're getting off the gadgets. Obviously, every time you summon one, you get a +1. We also run a couple of Machina Fortress in here for a little bit of extra power. Lightning Vortex, putting in some work with this deck as well. You're going to have plenty of cards in your hand to activate Lightning Vortex. Obviously, every time you summon one, you're getting a plus, so plenty of things to discard for the Vortex here. And anything that can make rank 4s right now against Harpy Ladies is going to be really good because of that Heraldic Patriarch card. Anything that can just spit out level 4s, if you're playing against that deck, they're going to have problems against you. So And of course, using the new Zexa weapon skill, getting those ZWs to hand, gives you that extra consistency late game when you need to have those level 4s in your hand. You know, you don't want to draw on something else. Zexa weapon can definitely be a huge help with that. So another way to utilize that skill. Alright, I mentioned there was a second beast deck. Here it is. This one's taking a bit of a different approach. We're not focused as much on the Fable package. We're not using the Rikka monster here. Instead, we're using more Melffy cards, as well as some of the other beast cards that we've gotten in the past with this game. There's so many different things I think you can do with beasts now. The things that we've gotten with this deck, there's so many ways to approach this. I think as we go over the next few weeks, we're going to see a lot more of these kind of decks featured in these videos, and the decks are going to get more and more optimized. They're going to get a lot better. Again, this one's doing totally different stuff. We got Forbidden Lances in there. We don't have any of the discard stuff here, like to support the Unicorn with the other one. Instead, we have the Super Team Buddy Force. There's a whole lot of things to get extra beasts on the board to go into those extra XYZ summons and even a synchro summon. So yeah, different approach here, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of these beast decks in the future. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do. Again, Obedient Schools is just such a powerful card, just filling up your board with all 3 spots of beast monsters. Super awesome to see this kind of decks have success going forward. Alright, we also have a Rika deck here, Spicy Win Streak with Rikas. If you guys know, I love plant decks, love plant archetypes, plant synchro decks, and I'm really disappointed to see how bad Rikas have done since they come into the game. Really not a lot of success from them. Here we have yet another Spicy Win Streak. We've had a few of these, but just not too many, especially since they lost the plant skill that got hit. This one's a little bit different though. We're not utilizing the Titanial. Most decks I've seen with Rikas are utilizing the Plant Princess. They bring out that level 8 one. We're not using it here. Instead, this deck is just strictly focused on making XYZ monsters, going in the rank 6s, going in the rank 4s. Of course, all the Rikas are water, so we can go into the Hope Woven and get the attack boost on the Dweller, but yeah, it's just a little bit different here, focusing instead going for those XYZ plays, still running the triple Rose Lover, still running the Glamour, but running 1 copy of Mystic Walk and a Holy Guard as the skill. And interesting choices: Econ, still to try to win games, 1 Ballista Squad is the only trap, so I don't know, have to take a look at this list and see how it does and try it out myself, because again, I love plant decks and would really like to see Rikas have a little bit of success. Alright, and now this is one I'm really excited about. Block Dragon. This is a rock deck, earth deck, whatever you want to call it, lightsworn support. Basically, if you guys know Block Dragon, you just banish 3 monsters from your graveyard to bring it out to the board. When it dies, you're going to add some rocks to your hand from your deck, but that's not as important here. The most important thing is that you're going to flood you're going to load up your graveyard with your Lightsworn engine as well as Rock Bombardment. Bring out Block Dragon, use it to bring back some Giant Rexes, bring out Giant Plate. You have synchro plays here with Bulb and Raiden. Gigantus can clear out your opponent's back row whenever. Gigantus can banish your monsters just like Block Dragon can, so you get Giant Rex back to the board with it. But whenever Gigantus is destroyed and sent to the grave, it destroys all spells and traps on the board. So it's a nice little heavy storm whenever it dies. And you just got a nice little toolbox here too, with a Mono Iwano being able to stop your opponent's hand traps and push for game. You just do a ton of things. Synchro for a bunch of different stuff, XYZ for a few different things, different effects, a little heavy storm monster. So a lot of neat little things you can do with this build. I'm really excited to play with this one myself. I'm going for a second Gigantus right now. It's out of an old box, so I have to dig through one of those old boxes to get that card hit when I got to do that, but really want to try out this deck, so I'm definitely digging to try to put this one together. This was a top 4 for Meta Frequently as well. I had quite a few Meta Frequently decks this week. Had some crazy decks coming through in those tournaments. So, but that's it for this week. Again, as I said, we're going to be getting these videos more consistently posted up. But let me know, guys. Let me know in the comment section if you guys want me to continue to do videos like this, where they're like, we're talking about like 13 to 15 decks and talking about them for like a minute each, or if you guys would rather see me do these videos where I talk about like only 5 or 6 decks a week and talk a little bit more in depth about them. Let me guys know in the comment section how you guys want me to structure these videos, because I definitely want to post some new things on this channel and figure out, you know, the best way to go about doing some of these things. But I really do appreciate all you guys for watching, for tuning in, and you guys have a wonderful rest of the day.